Today on the fishing scene, we head out with a DNR to the Red River to assess catfish. Then we'll talk to the Ottertail County Water Patrol about boating safety and what you are required to keep in your boat. And later we go out on the lake and catch some springtime crappies. Stay with us on the fishing scene.
Part of our management responsibility in this management area is the Red River from Moorhead to East Grand Forks. And so every 5 years or so, we'll run a monitoring assessment of the fish populations on the river, and we'll use trap nets, trout lines, and electric fishing. And the part that you're looking at is the trap net and trout line portions of the sampling. Part of our responsibility for management is to know what those populations look like, whether or not they're trending upward or downward. It speaks well to the habitat in the river, or it speaks about the habitat in the river. If numbers are up, if they're doing well, if it's a really robust population, then things are going well with the habitat. And we've done a lot of habitat projects on the river. We've modified many of the dams in the river. And I think the numbers of fish that we're seeing are likely there partly because of the dam modifications that have gone on along the main stem of the Red. In the past, when the fish moved downstream of the dams, they weren't able to get back upstream except for in flood conditions. And now they're able to do that any time of the year. And so they're able to use the entire length of the Red River now. And we've got stronger populations of catfish further south or further upstream than we've ever seen in the past. We've got about 30 trap net sets between Fargo-Moorhead and East Grand Forks. We set them along snags along the edges of the river, and they're overnight sets. The fish swim up into the traps, can't get out. We come back the next day. We can measure and weigh and take a spine off these fish to age them. And so that's what you're observing in this sampling. The pectoral spine is taken so that we can age these catfish. We know how fast they're growing, our growth rate's changing. It's a common practice to take a bony structure on a fish in order to age it. And on a scaled fish, for example, we can just scrape a few scales off. Or on a walleye, we can clip a dorsal spine. But on a catfish, they don't have scales, and the most readily available bony structure is that pectoral spine. And so we snap that off and section it, and we're able to age the fish, and that heals over on the fish. Within a fairly short period of time, that'll be healed up. In fact, we catch fish in our sampling from previous years that we notice the spines are missing from one side, and we know we've sampled that fish in the past. We had a really excellent sample this year. The population of catfish in the river seems to be pretty high. It's much higher than it was in 2000. We do this survey every 5 years. And we had, on average, 50 cats per trap this sampling period, whereas in 2000, I believe we had 7.5 cats per trap. So the population, the numbers-wise, appears to be a lot higher, and the size of the fish that we're catching appears to be a lot higher. We caught fish all the way from 5 inches up to near 40 inches in length. So catfish, channel catfish that weighed between a fraction of a pound to well over 20 pounds were captured in the survey.
840.
A trot line is a strong cord or line with a series of dropper lines hanging off of it every so many feet. And there's a hook that's baited at the end of that dropper line. And that's just simply another method of sampling fish. In the downstream portions, in the northern portions of the Red River, the population of catfish tends to be larger sized on average. It's a larger river, so it holds larger catfish. And they tend to sample catfish better on trout lines there, or the larger catfish better on trout lines. On the upstream reaches or the southern reaches of the river near Fargo-Moorhead, they're somewhat smaller catfish. It's a smaller river, and I think our trap nets actually outperform. But to stay consistent across the whole survey, from the Canadian border all the way up to Breckenridge, we use the same type of gear from one end of the river to the other. So it's just another means of getting an index of abundance. We'll get an average number of catfish per trap net, or we'll get an average number of catfish per trot line per survey, and we can compare survey to see if the population is moving up, moving down, staying the same. And we may use it also to adjust regulations on the river as needed. These are natural populations, they aren't stocked, so we're not using it to adjust our stocking. We're using them to manage these natural populations, to gauge habitat and to gauge recreation, what's available to anglers out there. Catfish are the dominant species that we're finding in the survey. They by far outnumber everything else we're sampling in our traps. And we catch them almost exclusively in our trot lines. And other species we do see are walleye and sauger, goldeyes, booneyes. Freshwater drum are probably the second most abundant species. We see numerous red horse species, but it's a catfish-dominated fish community. I'd have to say that it's probably an underutilized resource. People are catching on that it's a tremendous catfish fishery, but I don't think they really understand it's really a world-class channel catfish fishery.
When we come back, we'll be talking to the Ottertail Water Patrol about a safe boat.
Hello, my name is Dave Weiss. I'm with the Ottertail County Water Patrol. Today we're going to talk a little bit about boat safety. Every year there are numerous drownings in the county, numerous accidents, and most of these could be prevented if people took some measure of caution, some measure of safety. So we're going to talk about that today. First we're going to do is we're going to talk about a boat. Our boats, if we have safe boats, we have safe boating. First thing is we're going to take a look at this particular boat. We have our fire extinguisher. It's up front where it should be. Some people have their fire extinguishers in the back. It's not a good idea to put them in the back because usually that's where the fire is going to be if it's an engine fire. So keep your fire extinguisher up front. Fire extinguishers are required on all boats that have an enclosed fuel system or 16 feet or longer. Another thing, in this particular boat, we have a kill switch by our throttle. Make sure the kill switch is hooked up to your life jacket. If something should happen and you get thrown out of the boat, the kill switch will stop the engine so you can get back in your boat or swim to it. Another thing that's important on our boats are our plugs for our water, the drain plug. Make sure that drain plug is in. Sometimes people go out and all of a sudden they find their floor starting to get wet. Drain plug isn't in, so make sure the plug's in. Another thing that you want to do, and probably the most important thing, are life jackets. Minnesota state law doesn't require you to wear them while you're underway in the boat, but they do require them to be accessible. And by being accessible means that they should be within reach easily in case something happens. The only thing with Minnesota is this year they've changed the law where if you are 10 years old or less, you have to wear it. It has to be on you. So 10-year-old and less have to have a PFD. We have several kinds of life jackets here today. This one is more of a standard type life jacket. Fits over you, conventional way, put your arms through it. This one will keep you afloat, it'll keep you safe, it'll keep your head up, no problem. There are variations of these. Some have mesh on the top. Some of them are more of a collar that goes around you and buckles in the front. These are good life jackets. These will work for you. Another one, this is a float coat. It's another life jacket. It's a jacket that has a layer of foam in it. It's Coast Guard approved. This one happens to be orange. They're warm. These are good for early season. If you're fishing just after the ice out, or if you're duck hunting late in the fall or fishing late in the fall, these are good. They'll keep you warm. There's a hood in here for weather. They will help a little bit retard hypothermia. Hypothermia, of course, is known as the chill that kills. These will keep your core body temperature a little bit warmer and prevent you from going unconscious as soon. These are good jackets. Come in various colors. If you're not into orange, they have blue ones, they have camouflage ones. A friend of mine and myself, we do a lot of duck hunting in the fall. I use this. I put a camouflage shell, nylon shell over it so it doesn't stand out so much. Figure I can take the shell off if I go in the water. People can see me right away. Orange is nice. This is another life jacket. This is the ones that we use all the time when we're on patrol. It doesn't look very effective, but it is. There's a harness that slips on. I'll put it on, I'll show you. Buckles up, and that's it. Little one up here that you can tighten on the top. This is actuated automatically when you get into the water. There's CO2 up here that'll fill up the bladders. There's a pill of a sort in here that goes off when it gets immersed in water. And all of a sudden, you have yourself a life jacket. These are legal. If you're buying a life jacket and if you're not sure, look and see if it has a little Coast Guard approved sticker on it and make sure that it's the correct size. Sometimes we see people going both ways. They have a little life jacket for a big person. It's probably not going to hold them up very well. And on the contrary, we see small children with life jackets for adults that are too large for them. They could slip out and the life jacket could actually get away from them. So make sure the life jacket is something that's approved for your size. Another thing that's required in the state of Minnesota, if you have a boat that's 16 feet or longer, you have to have a throwable. This is a throwable that's approved by the Coast Guard. It could be a round ring or one like this. This is the old seat cushion. This has to be on board. If somebody goes in, this is something that you can throw. There is also something out there called a rescue disc. It's like a frisbee, has a cord around it, and you can throw it out. It floats, the line is there, and you can pull the person back in if you need. But those are life jackets. This is a throwable. They have to be in your boat. Minnesota law says you have to have one for every person in the boat. If you have a water skier that's water skiing and they have on just one of those little ski belts or something that isn't Coast Guard approved, they have to have a life jacket in the boat also. So make sure you have enough for people. They're good in life insurance. They're cheap when you take a look at what they do.
Still to come on the fishing scene, we'll be out on the water looking for some springtime crappies.
Hey folks, it's early spring and we're fishing crappies up here in the woods. And let me tell you, not a very big one, but I'm telling you folks, you gotta be right up in the trees or right underneath it where there's some logs laying in there. What happened, we got a couple of inches of rain yesterday and it cooled the water temperature down about 8 degrees, plus it raised the water up. So I was out here a couple days ago and we're just really pounding them. Now all of a sudden the weather's changed, water's up, it's a little more murky, and those fish are holding real tight in next to the wood. There it is, right off that point. Nicer one too. There's a little nicer crappie. There we go, that's a little more decent size. Folks, what we're looking for in these early season crappie, there are a number of things. Obviously, shallow, muddy areas are key areas on any lake looking for early springtime crappies, because those areas are going to warm up a lot quicker than, say, like a hard bottom, sandy type bottom, gravel. It's going to warm up much quicker because it's dark, and that muck will attract that sunlight and warm up quicker. Then, also, we're looking for some wood. If you can find a combination of some wood with that muddy bottom like we have here today, then you're just, it's looking prime for crappies. And we got some overhanging brush here also, which on a real sunny day, that's also going to attract them. But what I'm more looking for than that is anytime you see some old trees going into the water, you can just about bet that some of those branches, some of the main parts of that tree have probably broken off and have fallen into the water. And those are the areas that you're trying to find. Plus, they attract bugs and little minnows. That wood does, and that's going to attract those crappies in there to feed. There's one. The key is just being patient, folks. I'm telling you, it's being patient. I'm using a small Lindy Phil float, and you know what? They're not even hardly moving that float. They're just a little bit. It's tweaking a little bit, and I'm setting the hook. That's how non-aggressive they are. Little male again. Now we're out here early in the morning. If we get a little sunshine today, by this afternoon, that water could warm back up, and those bigger fish may have moved back in there or be a little bit more on the bite. Got one. Little guy, little crappie. Tell you what, folks, we're catching fish today. They're not very big ones right now. These are all small males. But I'll tell you what, after the rain and the cold front that came through, catching fish today is almost a bonus. And I mean, really got to work them slow. Now, a lot of times, when that water really warms up into the low to mid 60s, those fish, I'm telling you folks, they'll just slam that bait. They were slamming it the other day when the water temperature was up, oh, I missed one, in the low 60s. Now we're sitting at 55 degrees, so it's dropped 8 degrees or so in just less than 2 days. Try flipping right underneath there. You almost got to skip your bait underneath there and do a little sidearm casting. Otherwise, you're going to hook up in the trees. I've been there already today. There's fish. Folks, our weather conditions for today, we have a pretty light wind, a little bit out of the northwest. We have cloudy conditions. Water temperature is about 55 degrees, air temperature in the upper 40s. And water clarity, not very clear at all. Hey folks, springtime crappies, they're a lot of fun, and it's a great time to get the kids out and introduce them to the great sport of fishing.